It's 6:30 on this January 13th, 2015, and welcome to the Nekoosa School District monthly school board meeting. First on our agenda is roll call. Mr. Scheer?
Mr. Giese.
Present.
Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Scheer is here. Mr. Freeman.
Present.
Mr. Husted.
Present. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As always, we'll have a virtual card reading. Who's reading the card, Mr. Scheer?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Responsibility. Being responsible means others can trust you to do things with excellence. You accept accountability for your actions. When you make a mistake, you offer amends instead of excuses. Responsibility is the ability to respond ably and to make smart choices. You are practicing responsibility when you take your agreements seriously, when you respond ably by doing things to the best of your ability, when you are willing to do your part, when you admit mistakes without making excuses, when you are ready and willing to clear up misunderstandings, when you give your best to whatever you do. Affirmation of responsibility. I am responsible. I give my best to all that I do and keep my agreements. I learn from my mistakes. I am willing to make amends. Responsibility.
Thank you, Bob. And I'll quickly read the School District of Nekoosa Board of Education guidelines that we developed and this board signed on in September of 2012. Guidelines are as follows. We will work together as a team establishing an environment of trust and respect which will serve as a role model for the community despite the challenges. We will balance the needs of our district while remaining cognizant of our community's ability for financial support. And the third one, we will work collaboratively toward the common goal of student learning, educational innovation, and instilling the desire of lifelong learning with the involvement of community stakeholders. So those are our Board of Education guidelines. Next on the agenda, we have public comments. Anyone would like to make a comment tonight? No one? Okay.
Quiet crowd.
Okay. It's going to be a tough crowd tonight. Okay. Then next on the agenda, we have Michelle Weiberg from PMA Financial Network Incorporated, and the discussion will be the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $12,125,000 in anticipation notes pursuant to Section 67121B of the Wisconsin statutes. So Michelle.
Doesn't that sound interesting?
Yeah, very interesting.
I promise I'll be brief. I know there's students here that probably need to get home and get their homework done. So I will be brief and give you just an overview of the resolution before you this evening for approval. I did pass out just a one-page brief summary that we'll walk through. But this is, again, the second phase of financing for your energy efficiency projects that you've identified. It's a necessary step in the process per statutes to do short-term notes before we can get to the long-term financing. So both of the phases that you've undertaken for financing these energy efficiency projects, both of the phases themselves require two phases for financing. So we actually have four financing steps in its entirety. So we're on step 2 of 4 right now. And issuing the short-term notes to finance the second phase in the amount of $12,125,000. The purpose, again, is to finance those projects. We anticipate taking these notes out with that long-term financing in March. We'll take the first notes out that we did last year in February in that long-term financing, so I'll be back next month with that, and then we'll take this short-term note out in March. The benefit of breaking it up, first of all, is actually we have less interest costs by doing these two financings separately. There's an advantage for having one financing be less than $10 million. There's a special designation for that in the market that gives you lower interest rates. So we're breaking the long-term financings out into two phases as well. So again, we're on step 2 of 4 right now. Step 3 will come next month, which is long-term financing of First Man. Step 4 will come in March. In March, what I like about having that last financing out there in March is we will have the governor's budget. We'll know what the next biennium looks like. We'll know exactly how to structure that long-term financing. When Scott talks later about the long-term projections and the overall levy, we're going to be able to better pinpoint what that looks like, at least for the next 5-year period. So all of that will be identified. We'll have more questions hopefully than, or more answers than questions right by the time we get to March. The sale date of these notes is tonight, January 13th. These notes will close on February 2nd. That's when the funds will be available to start paying for the projects. They'll mature on April 2nd. Again, we anticipate paying them off at that time with the long-term financing. They're not going to be callable prior to that, and they are non-rated. Just like the previous short-term notes we did, we sold these notes to other local governments in Wisconsin. So Columbia County bought your first series of notes, the $2.5 million. Columbia County also participated in this financing and purchased $4,125,000 of this financing. Allegheny County bought the balance of $8 million at an interest rate of 0.45%, which is actually lower than the first note issue that you did. So that's a great vote of confidence that both of those counties, having strict investment parameters themselves, look to this as a good solid investment for their constituents. So I'm happy to answer any questions, not only on the notes this evening, but also what we'll be seeing in the next couple months.
I have no questions.
I have no questions, really.
So the administration then is recommending approval, authorizing the issuance and sale of $12,125,000 note anticipation notes, Series 2014 pursuant to Section 67.12 subsection 1 subsection B Wisconsin statutes.
I so move.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. And this will be a roll call vote.
Mr. Giese,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mr. Shearer, yes. Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Husted.
Yes. Okay, a unanimous vote. The motion is carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and next on the agenda, we have a staff student presentation, Future Business Leaders of America, and the Team and Leadership Conference is going to be discussed.
I'm Jen Jackson. I'm a business ed teacher at the high school. I'm also the FBLA advisor. My officer team could not join me today because 2 of them are playing basketball and the other one had dance. So you get me instead. We are hosting our Regional Leadership Conference on Saturday, February 7th at Nekoosa High School. We have 638 confirmed participants, chaperones, advisors coming from 21 different regional high schools. So I just wanted to throw it out there, invite you all to come and see it. It's pretty big to do. If you happen to go in my room, it looks like a tornado came through there. Getting prepped for it, but huh? Yeah. You don't want to go see it. It's pretty bad. But we're getting ready. We're getting set for that. It's pretty awesome experience. There are 7 regionals in the state all taking place that day. Shawamigan here at Nekoosa, 2 Rivers High School, Chilton, Greendale, Hillsborough, and Mauston is also hosting one. So it's a pretty big thing. Nathan, Brian, Terry, Diana, and Lynn have all been gracious and volunteered. Keith is investigating it. So if you'd love to volunteer, I need judges. It's a pretty awesome experience to see all these kids. They're asked to rise up to the challenge. They have to be professional dressed. They give you professional presentations. It's a pretty awesome experience. So if you'd love to come and see it, love to participate, it'd be great. We're also going to be potentially playing host to the only school from the state of Minnesota that has FBLA. So they may be coming and attending our regional as well.
Jen, will you just talk a little bit about what the day looks like?
What the day looks like, I won't get much sleep. I'll be running on caffeine. No, we start the day at 8:30. We have our judges meeting and our advisors will all come in and meet while the students are in the gym. We have our opening session where we have nice speeches, campaign session for the next regional vice president comes. And then they compete starting at 10 o'clock. They will have presentation events as well as Scantron objective tests where they test in a range of everything from accounting to doing sales presentations to creating desktop publishing documents. We have 2 workshops that we're doing. We're having financial football where the students will take on teams and they'll try and beat each other in like a personal finance quiz. The other one is my former state officer from Pittsville will be doing a workshop on what it's like to be a state officer, and he's also at the collegiate level of FBLA, which is Phi Beta Lambda, so he's going to be talking about that to students in the auditorium. We are going to have some fun. They have a scavenger hunt, so they're going to see all the cool murals and all the things that we have at the high school, check out everything, as well as what we call Region 2's Got Talent, so they show off their skills, whether it's dancing. We've had juggling, we've had awesome singing, some not so awesome singing. But that's it, and then we have an awards ceremony where they find out if they finish in the top 3, they move on to the state competition in April in lacrosse.
What do the judges judge?
I have a variety of events. We have everything from team competitions where it's a business presentation. This year's topic on that is identity theft, to students doing public speaking as to why FBLA has helped them become better people. They have where they've created projects, so digital design and promotion, they had to actually design their own logo and then they present to you how they did it. So it's a whole, pretty much anything and everything business related is covered in one way, shape, or form. And it's really awesome to see the kids from so many schools. They mingle, they come all the way from Minocqua, Rhinelander, way up north to, we're the farthest south school. Us and Allman Bancroft would be the far southern end of our region.
Cool. Questions?
I think Jen just needs a lot of thanks for all your efforts and your successes. You know, thank you.
Jen, I'm curious, how many Nekoosa kids?
28.
28.
We have 28 Nekoosa students. Our largest chapter that's competing in the marathon, and they have 100 with their advisors, chaperones, and students. So smallest is surprisingly Wisconsin Rapids Lincoln with 6. So, yeah, you'd think a school the size of Lincoln would have larger, but yeah. So we have a gamut from 100 kids. I think Rhinelander has 92 coming. We have some very small ones like Colby has 6 and Lincoln has 6.
So if the board is interested in helping out, they just email you?
Just email me or call me at school. You know, let me know if you're interested. We'd love to. And even if you're not interested in judging, please stop by and see it. You can't really go in and watch the competitions, but you can at least see them, especially the award ceremony. We do a March of Dimes. We support March of Dimes, and we do a miracle moment. On average, we usually raise about $200 to $300 worth of loose change that day to all be donated to March of Dimes. And we have a nice family coming and sharing their story for March of Dimes as well. So that'll be during our closing.
What time's that award ceremony?
Scheduled to start at 1.
Okay.
That's if my headquarters hasn't imploded at that point. And we're able to get it to come off. But I think we'll get her done. So please come and see it.
Do you need any help with prejudging this weekend?
No, we're good with prejudging. We
Very
have
good.
prejudging this Saturday, where kids have mailed in events. They're slowly trickling in. They have to be here by 4 o'clock on Friday, so I may have some very frantic advisors driving here to get their stuff turned in. So any
Thanks
questions?
for sharing.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you, Jen.
Thank you. Next, we have some fourth grade students to talk about how they're using technology to support learning.
Start off talking, okay? Some of these kids didn't even realize until today that the school board were actually people. So they knew who Mr. Whitmore was, and it was really kind of cute. And they're like, "There's going to be people there." So 2 years ago, myself and the two other fourth grade teachers came before you and requested an opportunity to have iPads in our classroom. You, along with the community, have supported that, and we have a classroom set of 30 iPads. And I just want to say thank you very much to the community members who supported that publicly. I haven't had a chance to say that publicly, but these kids use these for learning all the time. They really love the iPads. You guys, I had to power down all the iPads today to upload a new program on it, and it took about an hour and a half to load the program. And in that time, there were kids in and out all the time. I need an iPad for this. I need an iPad for this. I'm like, you can't grab one now. Aww. So they find reasons to use them all the time, every day, every class period, for various reasons. And we're going to share with you today just some of the different projects that they have done on the iPads this year. So I'm going to start with a student that isn't here, and I'm hoping this is all going to come back up on the screen. Maybe reconnect it. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Switch that one.
This student that isn't here, she is going on a vacation trip, and she asked for her assignments ahead of time. So instead of doing the traditional assignments, here's your pile of worksheets to do while you're on vacation, we gave her the opportunity to research the place that she was going on vacation and to create a presentation. She's not done with it yet. She's still working on it. She has the rest of this week to do it, but it gives her a little bit of opportunity to write, research, and create, and get excited about her vacation to Mexico that's coming up. So she used the app called Book Creator, and these books, as they create them, they can then be downloaded onto iBooks. They can be shared in the iTunes store onto iBooks, and then the kids can take them onto their own personal devices from the iTunes store. Or I can just take them onto the computer that's in our classroom, and they can share them with all the other kids in there. So she is doing her trip to Mexico. She went to find different pictures, just all the different things she's doing. She researched parasailing. She researched swimming with the dolphins, what she's doing. She creates the backgrounds, finds the pictures, and does the writing. And she's done the research. And today, it was really kind of cute because I powered down the iPads. And she's like, how am I going to do my research? I said, you know the 12,000 books in our library? I'm sure there's one on Mexico in there, and we don't have to use the internet. So these kids have become so dependent upon technology, and they really do a good job finding information and finding it well. I'm going to go to the next student who is going to share what she likes to do on the iPads. And I'm going to hook you up here, Kennedy. Kennedy, I'm going to have you stand in front of me, not behind me. And I'm hoping, okay. Kennedy likes the program Pick Collage, okay? And she's going to pull up one of the Pick Collages she did.
I did one on Humphrey, that was one
Oh, you're going to want to talk to them.
I did one on Humphrey, that was one of our read aloud books. It's by Betty G. Burney. It's about a class hamster who goes on adventures and helps all his friends.
You don't have to tell them the story. Just what about the program and how did that help you with learning?
It helped me put what I thought of the book and helped me.
It looks like you've done quite a few collages.
And you want to kind of scroll through the other ones that you've done just to show what they've done? She likes to, oops, we're losing the dongle as we're turning this, so apologize about that. No, that's okay, it's not your fault. It's the connections on it. Okay, go ahead. Try not to touch the white thing. You better talk to me.
I did one on Judy Bloom, Double Fudge. It helped me I read it. It's been a couple months since I've read it, so it helped me kind of remember what it was about.
And I see that
I did one on
she did one on frogs and saving frogs, and one on how to stop logging. So she's using these pic collages to do all different kinds of things. All right? Okay, you can have a seat.
Thank you.
Who's next? Emma and Nathan. Let's grab yours. Emma and Nathan worked together on a. Nathan, you had it with. Well. Yep, got the right one. Okay. Emma and Nathan worked together on a project in reading class. You want to tell them what we were studying and what you did with this project?
We were studying myths, and you did one on the Golden Touch.
So what program did you guys use?
What's it called?
They know it by icons and pictures.
Comic Head.
And what did you do with this with this comic head?
We just sort of created a couple comics of the main idea of the story. So like a paragraph with pictures. And we put most of the details. There's two. This is only the first one right here.
So you have two screens to
Yeah.
retell the story, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to pull up the other screen?
That's the second one.
So what did you learn from this project? How did that help you, or what did you enjoy about that versus writing a paragraph on paper?
One, my hand's not gonna be big. I like iPads.
How about you, Emma?
It was kind of fun to get to kind of remake it into words.
Could you hear her?
So do you get to choose the characters and all the setting to match up with the story?
Yeah.
And they could choose their setting from a bank in a background where there was a whole bunch of choices, or they could take their own pictures and do them. So, can you record on this one? No, we didn't record on this one. Yeah, okay. All right, anything else to share about what you like to do on the iPads? Nate, what?
I'd like
Okay.
Edgy Creations.
We didn't hear you, Nathan.
We like this app called Edgy Creations. It doesn't really help you learn, but it helps get what you know into another device, and you can record the screen and like tell them and draw what you know. So you can teach other people what you know, and like you can email it to people. I really like it because it gets me all creative. Like I've done almost 25 already.
Oh, wow.
Every math.
I know. He finishes early, so he practices, and then other kids could pull up the Edgy Creations and learn from his teaching too.
Wow.
So,
That's great.
all right. Anything else to share? It's an iPad app. Okay. Speaking of Edgy Creations, we had a big. Okay, girls. I I think the nerves kicked in. This is an example of educations. Allie and we gotta get sound on this one. Where do you guys plug into the sound?
Somewhere.
From the bottom.
It's on the bottom. It's not.
No?
This side. I'm hoping, Keith, do you know if the sound is gonna come up here?
Sounds like yes.
Is it on? Okay, so we're hoping the sound is gonna come up on here. Okay. All right, do you wanna talk about your EduCreations project, Allie? And all students did this project.
So what we did is we did a little, well, after we were like,
It was science.
Okay, so we were doing a science project on, it was ecosystems. And then we had to pick an animal and do its basic needs, food chain, food web, and something.
Threats.
Threats. And so me and my friend Elena did this one. So the scarlet eyes need the sun, temperature, air, water, and food to survive.
Did you want to find the part in that you were going to just play for them because this one has sound with it? Most kids' presentations on this one were about 3 minutes long. Allie and Elena recorded their voices for 15 minutes. And as a teacher, I'm going, oh my goodness, 15 minutes, what are they saying? But they were little teachers in there because they spent a lot of time teaching like Mrs. Dudley teaches science and going back and reviewing the concepts that they were already presented. So it was really good. So just pick a part and hit play, okay?
Okay. So our raccoon is a tertiary. He's gonna get these eye, which is really cool because if you think about it, look at the raccoon compared to the scarlet ibis. The scarlet ibis is way taller. So how would that raccoon get its meat? The scarlet ibis might be laying down or taking a nap later in the day. Then along, you hear cracking in the woods. And all of a sudden, once again, all of a sudden, the raccoon jumps, tears, and eats. So our last one is our fungi decomposer. Now you're thinking plants or mushrooms or fungi don't get energy. The mushrooms can't eat the raccoon, so the raccoon has to die. Or something else eats it and then that dies. So there could be a shark that eats the raccoon and then that would die. And that's not a possibility, but I'm just trying to name where somebody else here. That the fungi is going to say we'll say a snake found it laying dead or something. Then the snake's gonna eat that. Then the snake's gonna die. The snake's gonna eat it.
Stop it about there. She does know a shark is not going to eat a raccoon. She does know that. Okay, we're gonna. Okay. Allie and Elena did a wonderful job on their presentation. This was a project that the entire 4th grade did, and instead of doing a traditional test, paper pencil on this, we had the kids produce their own edu-creation, girls, just their own edu-creations showing what they learned, and the more vocabulary they were able to use in this project, the more that we know that they learned. So, and we did watch them as a class, and they got to share positive comments they liked about each of their classmates' projects. So we have one more here, and Cheyenne is going to show what she has been using the iPad for. Okay, I guess Cheyenne changed her mind. She wants to show her edu-creations now. Okay, but we got. Okay, you should be hooked up now. Okay. So, Cheyenne, can you just share some of the different things you've been using the iPad for? Okay. She said for math problems that she didn't know. So, what kinds of math problems did it teach you to do? For multiplication facts. She gets very shy. I give her lots of credit for coming here tonight. She loves to. She wanted so badly to come. She stayed after school with me since 4 o'clock today, so she could come to share. And you also have used Book Creator. What did you make on Book Creator? What did you make your story about? Okay, she read an article about a girl who lives in Texas and makes clothes for the homeless. And she did some research on that. And why did you choose to do some research on that? She liked the article, she said, and she wanted to learn more. So, do you want to share your edu-creation now? Hit play.
My name is Cheyenne Crosby and my partner is Ebony Moore. We were in a bio tiger and spectacular rainforest and sun. It needs our sun, air, shelter, water, and food. The things it needs are the sun, a producer, which are plants. The first consumer is a herbivore. The third consumer is an omnivore. The third consumer is our animal, and it is a carnivore. It ends with death. And those are decomposers. Start all over. The food web starts with our tiger. It eats a jackal. A jackal is an omnivore. It eats a leopard. A leopard is a carnivore. It eats giant panda. Our giant panda eats a bamboo. Our giant panda is an omnivore. A tiger eats an Asian elephant, which is a herbivore. The Asian elephant eats fruits and also bamboos. Our tiger eats antelopes, which is a herbivore. It all starts out with the sun, leaves, and grass.
And they had to get their sun.
Are humans, wildfires, circuses, scientists, and hunting. And because hunting, they shoot tiger, shoot a tiger for meat and fur. And scientists kill them and figure out the bones. And tigers and the circus gets the fire kills their home. And this is for a video, right? My name is Cheyenne Crosby and my partner.
It was replaying it. These students are very proud of their work that they do, and they've created many things. We've got many more projects coming up. We've got books that they're going to be writing. They're going to be using Book Creator to either choose to retell the story, make a prequel or a sequel to the book that we read. They're going to be using a new app that was just loaded today called Toontastic, where they create their own cartoons, and they're going to be showing what they've learned on early cultures of Wisconsin and be able to create their own characters and tools and things that they learn about in their social studies. So those are just two, and they'll be doing their own iMovies later this year too, showing what they've learned with lumberjacks. So we've really enjoyed the iPads, and thank you for taking the time to let us share.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. Questions for our fourth graders?
Awesome, awesome job.
That last one that Cheyenne shared, her partner has very difficult time writing anything on paper, but he was able to share what he knew through speaking it, whereas he never would have been able to write it on paper. So it was a great way to be able to share. And he did really good at manipulating and working with helping to build the educreations, right, Cheyenne?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I think we're up to administrative reports.
You bet. So administrative team, if you'd be thinking about something you might want to share with the board. A couple of things that I have, we've been working with Nexus on planning for summer projects at the high school. We've had, I think, 2 meetings, right, so far, and things are coming along nicely there. We had our first facilities improvement community conversation day here at Pumpkin. We didn't have any people attend, but tomorrow night at 6 again, and then on Thursday at 4. 3 or 4? I should get that right.
And tomorrow night at 6 is at the high school, correct?
Correct. Yep. Also, coming up in February, and we talked a little bit about this when we had Danny Goldberg with us, we are working on a joint advance, kind of a retreat at Camp Alexander. And we're hoping that the school board can attend. We're working on the agenda now. So we're inviting Nekoosa, CWSA, and our school board. And we're working on the outcomes of that right now. And I'm just going to share a couple that have been roughed out. Learn about the strengths of one another as far as individuals and as the board and the councils. We want to talk about the systems that we have in place for communication, evaluating services, and really understanding and the needs and the needs and the roles that we all play in working together. We've talked a little bit about that. We want to do some planning for short-term and long-term relationships, and then really focusing in on developing some good language for asking questions about how we can support one another. And I know, too, that we want to have some conversations, and certainly I'm open to suggestions from the board about, our hope is that we would do some things jointly, and then we'd be able to break up and do some things as a board and have some conversations as a board as far as learning goes. But what we're looking at is starting on Thursday night and then going into Friday and Saturday. So it'd be Thursday evening and Friday all day, and then Saturday in the morning, finishing up around 11.
Do you have a date for that?
Yeah, it's starting Thursday, February 12th, the 13th, and 14th. So what questions do you have, or thoughts do you have about that?
February 13th, Future Business Theaters. No, that's February 7th.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So any comments or thoughts about that as we prepare and look forward? And certainly what we'd like to do is tailor it, so if, if some board members can make it Thursday night, we can structure it so, for those of you that can attend that, that's an option. For those that can make it Friday, we'll try to make it so that, it works for everybody.
So Chair, I'd like to recognize Amy in the front row right here.
Yes.
She's one of our governance board members for CWSA, so I know she'd like to share something.
Yes, we have a couple of books. I just wanted to, like Terry said, invite you guys to the advance that we're going to do. These are the Strength Finder books, so goes through your strengths. There's a little test that you need to take, so in the back of the book, there's a code. You cut this out, take the little 30-minute test online, and tells you all your strengths, and that's what we're going to go through Thursday evening of the advance. So if you're interested in coming Thursday evening, I have 5 of these to go around. If you need more, I believe Mr. Rogers still has some left.
Or Mr. Johnson might have some extras. So what that is we've talked about the strengths, right? We've been really working on the strengths, and the administrative team has all participated in a workshop. We've all taken the Strengths Finder. So what we're offering is this opportunity to actually take the assessment. And it takes, is it
It's about 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yeah.
So you take the assessment, then you'll get your top 5 strengths as a person. And really, I actually had intentions of doing this sooner with the board, so it's a great timing. So that's going to be Thursday evening, and the council and certainly at Nekoosa,
Yes.
Okay, so we've had conversations with them, so it'll be a great opportunity for us to get together, and spend some time together with the 2 councils, and then spend some time talking too about how we can learn and grow as a board. All right, with that.
What time are you starting on Thursday?
Thursday, 5:30. And we'll have meals and, we'll take care of you out there. All right, so administrative team.
Sure, I'll go real quick. Just kind of building off a little bit of what we just talked about. Did you want to pass those out right away though, Amy? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and I'll just keep talking. So go ahead and, okay. It's one of the things we just started we've been working on more so now, but looking ahead into the next school year as we're looking into Central Wisconsin STEM Academy right now, and we're working in cooperation with them. When I say them, I mean AMS, STEM Academy, and Nekoosa, the 3 schools that we have within our building right now, is working in cooperation to figure out how next year is going to look like. And we're having early conversations about that right now. And we're just in the initial stages of that as an AMS building right now. Other thing I'll mention quickly right now with Nekoosa, we are working on is implementing our strategic plan, and one of the things we're focusing on is looking into personal learning plans. And then also, I've had conversations about Mike and expanding the offering of Ho-Chunk language for all students in Nekoosa, and that being more of a K-12 experience, and just working with the nation, the Ho-Chunk nation, and giving those kids who want that opportunity, and trying to secure funding through the Ho-Chunk nation with them. And those are a couple of highlights. I'll let you speak.
Well, at Humke, we're in the thick of STAR testing and benchmark assessments and quarter assessments and PALs, and the other part too is that what we use for recesses is 0 degrees below wind chill. So when it's below 0 for wind chill, we're indoors for recess. So this afternoon, we had our first outdoor recess in about a week and a half. And so please, if you are a person who might pray for more of those above 0. Because certainly we have, a lot of students that have a lot of energy in the building, and we need them outside. So that's probably been the biggest thing, is working on the assessments here, and then the indoor recesses, and coming back from break and all the excitement and the energy in the building. Mm-hmm. So that has been what has been at Humke.
3 things I want to mention. We have 3 students who will be graduating early. One of them is headed to the Marines, I believe in late February, early March. She plans to be back with us for graduation in June. Another individual, actually her last day was last Friday. She started at Mid-State today. She worked through with her teachers to get her finals all taken care of so she could start at Mid-State. The third one she'll be here through the end of the semester, as the first one I mentioned will be too. She actually will be moving to the Dells to work for a semester, their dad's business, and then she plans to go to school in Minnesota to study environmental law. So, early graduations, for the first time, as I've ever known, we have developed a semester exam schedule, 2-hour blocks for final culminating either exams or projects, and that takes place in 3 days next week. And our guided academic resource is, we started that 1st of December, and we've already had some successes in terms of students earning out of that because they have passing grades, their grades are passing. We started out, first of all, with freshmen that had failing first quarter Fs. Just a few sophomores were in on that. Then, of course, when we hit midterm, second quarter, the numbers in there jumped, which we knew they would. Now, when we hit semester time, we're going to roll that out to any students who do have an academic resource and have a failing semester grade, all grade levels. In addition to that, we're also allowing students to self-refer themselves to that guided academic resource for additional academic support.
Nice.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Charlie, you have anything?
Sure. I would love to take this opportunity to actually provide the board with an update on our Act 125, Wisconsin State Statute on seclusion restraints. Now, as you may remember, in August, I promised I would be coming back with the mid-year update, and I told you some of the things that we would be working on, including the continued nonviolent crisis intervention training, which we now have 34 individuals in the district trained, and we're really with the emphasis on the verbal de-escalation, the hands-off approach. I know Mr. Johnson is one of our trainers, and so is Mr. Rogers. They've done a wonderful job with those trainings. We've also, each building has an action team around responding to behavior, I think is a component, and professional development on developing functional behavior analysis and BIPs, behavior intervention plans, I think can contribute to some of these numbers. So what I came to you with in August was we had 153 restraints last year in the district, 122 at Humke, 21 at Alexander Middle School, and 10 at Nekoosa, and 0 seclusions. So as of right now, at Humke, we have 3 restraints, Alexander, 5 restraints, 2 seclusions, and at the high school, 9 restraints, 1 seclusion, for a district total 17 restraints and 3 seclusions. And again, last year we had a total of 153. So I think we're certainly heading in the right direction.
Wow.
And I think it's a combination of some of the things I talked about. I can't really pinpoint one thing, but with all the work around social emotional learning and the ongoing training and verbal de-escalation has just been heading us in the right direction.
A culture change.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing. Anything else? Okay. Nathan, do you have anything?
For the most part, many things have been touched on. I just want to point out that one of the biggest things that we're coming up on that I've been excited about is that an increase, we've shared with the board recently, the ways in which PLCs, each group of teachers, have been self-rating and started looking at ways in which they're identifying strengths and weaknesses and areas to work on. And we're starting to get some of those numbers back, bring those back to the councils. Would have had more if we hadn't had a snow day last Wednesday when we were going to be looking at a lot of those. But just really been excited for how much we're having the teacher leadership teams really start working together and really finding ways that are finding meaning and helping self-direct a lot of the initiatives we're doing. So, and just gets communication going better, helps everybody understand from a common perspective, and appreciate the board's investment in that, and it's really been showing some good dividends.
Awesome.
Oh, I have the agenda.
Perfect. All right, Mr. President.
Okay, with that, let's move on to our first item of new business, which is the soccer program.
As you'll recall, last month I came and gave a presentation. We had held a community meeting in October, and basically really to gauge interest and come up with a solid idea or a solid plan to, hopefully move our high school soccer program forward. As you know, we started middle school soccer, I believe it was about 5 years ago, have a co-ed program currently there, and no place for those kids to, to go or to advance other than, participating in Rapids or other clubs and activities. And so at last month's meeting, I came up with the different options, and basically tonight would like to ask that the board approve our opportunity to become a WIA-sponsored co-ed soccer team, which would participate in the fall, starting next year. Also, as I was talking with Mike today about, within our conference bylaws, it states that once 4 member schools have, at least 4 member schools, have a sport and agree to, participate in that sport, then it also becomes a conference-sponsored sport. And currently, if we were to add soccer, that would leave everyone in the conference except for Westfield with boys soccer. And so then it would become a conference-sponsored sport, most likely in the 2016-17 season, because 2015-16, Mauston is actually already in a separate conference just for soccer because we haven't sponsored it before, and Adams, Friendship, and Watoma will both become WIA sponsored. Well, actually, Adams will become WIA sponsored this year. Watoma has already been. So that will allow us also conference affiliation, which will help with our scheduling and those type of things as well. I shared just a very informal budget estimate with everybody, which I feel is directly in line with our other sports that we currently sponsor. And, of course, largely due to Christy and some of the other parents that have really been kind of the driving force behind this. That initial cost is less than what it certainly could be because we do have the uniforms. And, of course, we already have a game field and things that we're playing on with our middle school season. I think, too, as far as field costs and things, with us playing in the fall, it's also the same time that we play middle school, so the field's going to be marked. All of those things are going to be taken care of. Where it's not going to be a tremendous amount of additional cost there. The only difference will be that we'll define some practice space behind the middle school as well, which is something that we've done in the past with both youth and middle school football and having soccer back there, because that was our game field at one time before we built out the field in front of the middle school. And the reason I have to ask you for that, that sponsorship tonight is because by February 2nd, we have to notify the WIA our intentions to participate in that sport. And then they, of course, would approve it and move forward from there. If we don't, then we function as a club team. And if we function as a club team, it really limits number one, we can't participate in any WIA tournaments, i.e. the regional sectionals and state championships. And many WIA teams can't, in fact, actually play us. They can't even put us on their schedule. And so we would only be able to play other club teams, which would make it beyond difficult to schedule and would greatly increase our travel costs.
Jason, how many kids are we targeting? 30?
I would say honestly, now that the word has gotten out after last board meeting, I would say that we're going to be between 25 and 30 kids participating.
All right, so
we're looking for a motion to approve the co-ed high school soccer program for the 2015-16 school year.
Let's get her done.
Okay,
Second
we have a first. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Jake.
thank you guys, all of you, for working on this.
Just to give a quick plug for the Strengths Finder book too. One of mine is futuristic, and you probably remember when I gave my presentation.
No.
So it's it definitely it'll help you identify them and.
Oh yeah, futuristic.
Continue to work.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Mr. Freeman says way in the future.
Hey, as long as it's out there, I'm okay.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Scott Gralla from PMA Financial Network to talk about and discuss our financial forecast. So we're also going to look into the future a little bit here, Scott, right?
Yes.
And this is an annual presentation. I mean, I think last year we did it in March, so we're a little bit earlier, which is good. I think we were scheduled for December, and I think I dropped the ball on that one. So,
Should get some of those fourth graders to hook this all up and get it running.
yeah, yeah.
That was pretty impressive.
Mhm. Did you want to introduce your coworker?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to work with you again, see all the familiar faces. It's always a pleasure to come over. I live and work out of Stevens Point, so this is one of my closest districts. But having a board, all the same faces, all the same board members, we won't have to spend so much time on what we do and why we do it as on what some of these outcomes are. So let me get everything working here. And I didn't turn on the smart board yet. I'm not so smart. As I'm opening up files here, getting everything ready, I want to introduce Nick O'Connor to my left here. Nick is a senior at UWSP. He's an accounting major, and he's an intern working for PMA this year. And Nick has really helped me out in Stevens Point office by doing all what we refer to as the grunt work, downloading of all the data files from DPI, initializing files, histories, budgets. So when I'm ready to do a forecast, and Lynn and I are ready to work on it, I can hit the ground running. So, okay.
Computer one.
Okay.
And I did hand out in your board packet a portion of the model, and we're not going to hit all of those charts or anything, but Scott will touch on a few things.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Oh.
Just kidding.
5 minutes?
I can go as fast as you guys want. And I wish I could make the chair a little short, because I know I've been blocking the screen here, so. Get a little over. Okay, so since we've all gone through this routine before, we won't spend a lot of time talking about who we are and what we do.
I was just kidding about the 5 minutes.
They're not stable.
Oh, jeez.
And I can't blame that on Nick, I did it myself.
I'll hand it over.
So, just a quick overview. What is the financial planning program, what we refer to as FPP? It's actually a process. We worked on this project beginning in the fall. When your annual report is submitted to the state, once your budget report is submitted to the state, once your third Friday count is all in, all of that information is being put together into your model. We're looking at 5 years of history, your current year budget, and going off 5 years. So we're always working with 11 years of data. And I don't know that we're going to do this tonight, but your model is up and running, ready to go, but we can run different scenarios and analysis at any time. As I mentioned before, 5 years of history. For example, in your Fund 10, your general fund, the expenditures, the level of detail we pulled down is about 450 line items of all the different expenditures. The same with your budget. We'll talk about your enrollment because we have some interesting occurrences happening this year, trends. I hope it's a trend. So we'll look at your enrollment projections very closely. We accounted for all your salaries of all employee types, all the benefits the district provides, your equalized valuation, historical valuation, where we're at now and where we're going in the future, and why that's so important to your district. We're looking at the current state revenue limit and aid calculations. And I say current because we know the governor will be announcing his budget, presenting his budget in 2 or 3 weeks, and hopefully that will give us some insight. Not like 2013 when it was kind of the bad cop, good cop when the governor came out and said everything was frozen, no new aid, and then his legislators, the Republican Party, came back in the fall with additional funds. There was a budget passed in June, and then there was supplemental aid added back in October. So hopefully, I think a lot of those conversations have been occurring at the state level since the elections were done in November, so that some of these issues have been vetted and that we'll see a budget pass much quicker. So we'll look at the three key areas of assumptions: enrollment, revenue, and expenditures. As I mentioned before, kind of getting ahead of myself on the fun part, but looking at your enrollment this year, you did go down 16 FTEs, and we are using the two-year cohort survival method. So that's simply a fancy term for looking at how your students move from first to second, second to third, and so forth. And we're still using the same method as last year. What's important in that is we're using 4K and 5K class sizes of 68 and 86 students. That is the same class size as this year. No increase, no decrease. So that's going to generate a decrease of 11 students next year, 9 the following, 8, 10, 16, and a total of 54 students over the next 5 years. Our resident open enrollment students attending other districts, we did decrease 2 from 13, 14. Anytime we can decrease, that's a good thing, a good transition. Actually, more districts that I've worked with this year have seen increasing numbers again, so I think you are the first district I've worked with that's had decreasing open enrollment out students. And I think it goes hand in hand with the last bullet, which is your non-resident open enrollment students. More districts coming to Nekoosa. You're currently at 97, which is an increase of 18 over last year. And right now, that revenue per student is $6,635 in tuition revenue. So that was, I think, something we talked about and hoped, and are continuing to hope to grow that, planning to grow that. So if we can continue that trend, that will help eat into some of the deficits that we're looking at here tonight. Because we've cast forward flat, non-resident open enrollment. Revenue, as we all know, it's driven by the number of students you have and the per pupil increases we receive each year from the state. Right now, we are using $75 in the per pupil revenue limit as our assumption. For the last 2 years, this year included being the second year of the current state budget, we've had a total of $150. And that is a combination of 75 on the revenue limit and a 75 on the per pupil categorical aid. By state statute, those increases end after this biennial budget for the per pupil categorical aid. So it will stay in there at 150, and it is actually written with a general purpose revenue to pay for that at the state level. There's a lot of people that feel that some of the conversations that are going to be had with school finance will be linked in to per pupil categorical aid, vouchers, per pupil revenue limits. Just say, hang on, we'll see shortly. A lot of districts have, well, I say all districts this year that have done a forecast have used the $75. A few have asked, have called and asked, what if we change it to 0? And we can kind of trace where some of those rumors that they're hearing about the 0 are coming from, and they're all coming from our lobbyists at the state level. And I jokingly said to one district today, he said it made complete sense. Well, he has to justify his salary. Working down in Madison to impact legislators. But so that's really, we're not hearing anything on 0. We're not hearing anything on increases. It's very, very tight-lipped at the state. So if you're hearing something, it's probably a rumor. Shifting gears a little bit and talking about valuation, your district went up 1.55% this last year. The statewide average, the statewide increase was 2.378%. From an aid perspective, that makes your district look less wealthy, and that's a good thing. Anytime we look less wealthy relative to the state average, that means we should get more aid. When we go forward in projecting, and we'll talk a little bit more about state aid and how that plays a role in your overall aid, but going forward, we've used an increase next year of 2% and an increase of 0.5% per year for each year afterwards. And that's very important that we also are running parallel to the state assumptions. We're not artificially making ourselves look more or less wealthy than the state average. State appropriations for aid in the future, we're using an assumption of whatever we receive on a revenue limit, in this case $75, the state would fund 2/3 of that. At the state level, in big numbers, if we look at about 850-some thousand students statewide, if the state would allow $75 per student, that would allow districts to collectively increase their revenue limit by 60-some million. and 2/3 of that is 42 million. When we look at our state budget for public education, about 4.2 billion. That's a little less than a 1% increase, so that's very reasonable. It's conservative, but it's still very reasonable when we look at what's even happened in the last 4 years. And lastly, open enrollment now by state statute is linked to, the increases are linked to the per pupil revenue limit. So next year it would go from 66.35 this year to 67.10. Lastly, our expenditure assumptions, salaries and benefits. Your largest expenditure, salaries. For teachers, administrators, we're using the PDP and moving up methodology, using those formulas, moving salaries that way, and a 2% CPI for all other staff. Retirements, we do have salary savings on retirements. We're projecting 5 per year. For the base forecast, we've frozen staffing at current levels. Health insurance capped at 7% per year, dental insurance 5% per year. Retiree benefits for current and future retirees based on the current benefit plan. Cost control by the district, your capital projects, supplies, and so forth are frozen at current spending levels. Utilities, we may see a little bit of decrease in there, but we can look at that as any offset in increase of costs, which would hopefully be offset with savings in actual consumption. Transportation cost at 2.5% per year, and district insurance, property liability, workers' comp, and so forth, frozen at current budget levels. It's important to also remember that tonight's projections do include the information that Michelle presented earlier on the energy efficiency financing plan. So that has been rolled in, and we know that a little bit of that debt is still tentative. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, that when the second borrowing occurs, we'll have a better idea, hopefully, of what's happening at the state level, and we'll have the ability to use that as a tool to control our levy and mill rate next year. So why do we do forecasting? Just to remind ourselves, it provides transparency to school finance, proactive versus reactive as a board. You're looking out multiple years. It gives you an insightful view into the future. I think you guys all have a pretty good understanding of school finance now after seeing this a number of times, talking about it. The decisions you make, these are all data-driven, and it does help with community conversations. So we're going to look at just a few reports here tonight. So the first report I want to show you is how we count students and how does that affect our revenue limit. What this is showing us here is our revenue limit membership, and we look at summer schools historically and projected in our September FTEs, that count we do in September. And so we can see currently we're at 1235. We did go down 19 membership FTEs, and depending where those students increase or decrease grade levels, if they're in the 4K, they don't always match up exactly with the number of students exactly. So we're down 19 FTEs, and you can see going out forward 11, 9, 8, and so forth. But the way we count students for revenue limit calculation purposes is we average the last 3 years. So next year when we go down 11 students, we take the average of those last 3 years, and that's a decrease of 14. The year following, when we go down 9, we still have the current year decrease of 19 in there. We're going to go down 13. So we don't have a lot of peaks and valleys here, or large swings, but it's still important to remember that it's not a 1-for-1. If we go down 11 kids, we just can't multiply that times the revenue limit per student. Normally we don't look at this report. This is something more for Lynn, Terry, myself to better understand what's happening in total revenue. But we're looking at a revenue limit analysis, and we're not going to go into a lot of detail here, but basically all these line items are from the actual revenue limit calculation. And at the bottom of each year, we can see, was our revenue limit increasing or decreasing, simply with a scatter plot here. So we can see next year, fiscal year 16, we're looking at revenues decreasing 171,000. Well, a couple of the key moving pieces in there would include the energy efficiency exemption. We have an exemption for $1 million this year. Next year, that's going to decrease to $879,000. So there's a $200,000 swing. So that's really not part of your general funds, because that exemption is used to pay debt. So that's dollar in and dollar out. But the difference being, we have some transfer of service, we have some hold harmless, So for all intents and purposes, that net difference, 171, if we look at 200, we're about $50,000 out next year. Not a lot of new revenue coming in. Moving into the second year, 2017, we can see that we are looking at an increase of revenue of about 126,000, but here's where we get in trouble a little bit when we get into year 3, 2018. That's when we have a larger decrease, and as we start to, actually the larger decrease was in fiscal 17 with enrollment. Whenever we start to flatten out or start to come back up and gain enrollment, that's where we are penalized because we lose our declining enrollment exemption. As we fall, this year you can see, for example, declining enrollment exemption was 131,000. Next year's 123. Well, that drops down to 86 in the year following. So those are all temporary exemptions, and anytime it's getting smaller or decreasing, we're losing revenue. And as we start to increase that exemption into the future, we can see our revenue increase. If our enrollment stayed flat, about 1,200 students, and we received all these other variables were taken off the table, our revenues would go up about $90,000 a year. So that kind of explains when we segue into our projections why we see some of our revenues fluctuating like that. Our Fund 10 history report simply looks at the last 5 years of history and ends with our current year budget. So we can see we ended last year with adding $358,000 to fund balance, bringing it from 2.9 to 3.3. A very healthy 23.6% fund balance as a percent of expenditures. We always look at that as an indicator of your district's financial health. We always look at minimum would be 15. We prefer to have somewhere around the 20% range. This is by not any stretch exorbitant, 23.6%. There's some other things that we're hearing rumors about at the state level, and they're still at that, I guess we call them that, but we are receiving inquiries from Department Administration, from the Governor's Office, on both the DPI and our associations, WASDA and WASBO, on fund balances. How many districts are borrowing? What does it cost to borrow? How much are they borrowing, those that cash flow borrow? And the reason for that is, we have some legislators, it comes up pretty much on a cyclical basis every 4 or 5 years that are looking at district's fund balance and saying it's excessive. Not that 23% is excessive, but there are districts with 50, 80, 90, close to 100% fund balances, and our legislators are saying that shouldn't be allowed. And actually, California did pass some laws last year that can take those fund balances back and put them back in the state. We're being proactive. I want to say we're WASBO, DPI, with explaining why districts need to have fund balance. I say a district, a smaller district, maybe a $5 million budget, a boiler or a roof costs the same in that district as it does in Nekoosa or in Wisconsin Rapids or Racine. So they can justify having a little bit larger fund balance. But that's one of the things that's out there being talked about at the state level. So as we go forward into our projections, we begin with our balanced budget of 13.865
Scott, can I just, so are you guys doing a good job of educating them on why, as they ask
It
questions?
seems to be a one-way conversation. We're funneling the information up. Our sister company, Forecast 5, where we have the ability to take big data and break it down and put it into visuals and do analytics. We're providing that data, those analytics to the state, both to DPI and to our associations, because they're both being asked by Department of Administration the same questions. So the feedback, are we doing a good job? We really don't know.
And all the organizations are recommending that districts call in their own legislators, sit down and go through the revenue limit worksheet, go through your state aid when you receive it, go through your tax levies when you receive those payments, and show where your downfalls are. Show when you don't have that, $3.2 million sitting in a bank account, because a lot of people think that that's what it is. What it is, it's your assets minus your liabilities. And your assets could be property. They need to understand that it's not a chunk of money sitting in a bank account. And I think a lot of them think that way.
Well, we've got new people out there now too, so we really
Right.
do need to educate.
Right, and that may be part of what's causing this conversation to come up again. Maybe every time a new biennial budget, I don't know what the correlation is, but this conversation's come up before, but it seems to have a little bit more interest when it's coming from department administration down to the associations and DPI.
Thank you.
23.8%, you don't have to cash flow borrow, do you?
We do,
You do?
yes.
I say you're pending, with your aid situation, that makes sense.
Yep,
If you're more of a highly aided district, a positively aided district, you may be able to survive without having to cash flow borrow if you're at 20%. You would get a lot more money in December rather than having to wait till January when your taxes start to come in. So that's typically when districts that are positively aided, if they're less than 20%, will start to have to borrow.
but we have been decreasing it, so, I mean, we're getting better.
So moving forward to next year, we're seeing revenues go up by %, expenditures 0.8%. So for all intents and purposes, at this point in time, $41,000, $42,000, we can say we're very close to getting it balanced. We draw in some more non-resident students, tuition on those at $6,700 a piece. Doesn't take many to eat into that. And again, this is a forecast. But it is very close, especially on the revenue side. I'm very confident in what we're doing there. Even if you have a few more kids or a few less kids, it's not going to change that a lot. Of your resident students, I should say, not the non-resident students. As we move forward into fiscal years 17 through 20, we can start to see the pattern of the structural deficits. And we already talked a little bit about why fiscal year 18, that deficit is a little bit larger. That's when that revenue limit exemption falls off for declining enrollment. But we can start to see that pattern, 152, 268, 225, 151. I went back earlier today and looked at last year's forecast, and our structural deficits last year were actually larger than this. So, we're working on narrowing that gap. And I did look back at what our per pupil revenue limit assumption was last year for future years. I believe we used only 75. We knew the categorical aid was going to stop next year, and I don't think any of us felt confident enough to add more than $75 on the per pupil revenue limit. So moving into our last visual here is our tax levy and mill rate analysis. And what I want to show here is you're currently at 1098 for fiscal year 2014-15. This is still projected, the 1102. And one variable we have in there is the debt service, especially the debt service relative to the energy efficiency exemption. If we say it's a priority to make our rate 1098 or our levy flat, Michelle can still do that at that time. We just let the projections roll out with a 2% valuation increase. The aid issue kicking in next year, we are going to lose some aid because you are a negatively aided district, and the more you spend, the less aid you get. So this year we did spend a little bit more with that first year of the energy efficiency, and we built that into our original forecast, and it's all accounted for. So it wasn't a surprise or anything, but it's just the nature of the beast when we're in this situation with our valuation and our value per student, that the more we spend, the less aid we're going to receive. So those have all been built into that projected mill rate of 1102 next year, but we do have the opportunity yet before Michelle brings forth new amortization schedules for your new debt to adjust those. So everything rolling forward, we can see that we have a pretty consistent gradual decrease in the projected mill rate. So that's what I have for tonight. Our 25,000 foot view. If we do this back in December, it's a 30,000 foot view. If we wait till March, maybe we'll be down to 10,000 feet. If you start to make some budget planning decisions that we can roll into the model, we can certainly start to do that.
Question.
Yes.
Is there a tool, I know it's an overused word, but is there a tool or a measure that can get us the mean, average, and median of the per capita income of our service area?
I know there's data available, and our sister company may even have that. Department of Revenue, I believe, would be the first place that we would look.
Okay, because I think
By
it'd
county,
be,
by municipality, I'm not sure exactly what's available.
okay, because it'd be interesting to see how they're fluctuating, how they're changing. Because I don't think many people know what's going on, so it'd kind of be nice to see where that's
Yeah,
going.
yeah, and we do see some very different correlations in valuation versus property,
Right,
or property versus income.
right,
We see more and more districts where it costs too much to live there.
yep.
It's not the people that, the property owners don't live there. Or,
Yeah, I used to be up
Minocqua.
north.
Yeah, Minocqua's, I was in Alma on the
Mhm.
river last week between La Crosse and Hudson. And they have extremely, extremely high valuation per student. They keep losing students,
Right,
and it doesn't take much. And they're in a situation where they're in a hole harmless. The state will never allow you to lose more than 15% of the previous year's aid,
Right.
but, so it's easy to project their aid, just 15% of the last year.
yeah.
You just carry that forward every year.
But if we could just focus on the income, that's something that's more tangible than the property value, because that can fluctuate with
Yeah.
who knows what.
Unfortunately, it doesn't, I mean, it will indirectly lend you know some of the outcomes with free and reduced and
Mhm.
some of the issues there.
Right.
You'll see that. And we do have that data
Okay.
readily available. We can provide that for Lynn anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, excellent, excellent information.
Just
Lynn.
informational.
Lynn,
Yes.
Lynn, thank you. and-
Yeah, it's not like we have a big cliff facing us next year. There's a little bit of time to sit back and watch what happens at the state level and look at our enrollment and decide where to go from there.
And I think you've worked with me long enough to know that I am extremely conservative. That
No.
even though there's a lot of red up there, I don't see red, I see green. So I am conservative because you never know, tomorrow, I don't really want to jinx
Sky.
anything, but it could happen.
The
So,
sky is falling, the sky is.
right, great. Thank you, Scott.
Thank
you,
you,
Scott.
Scott. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Scott.
time.
Thank you. Nice
This
meeting
is
you.
Nick's first board meeting.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I'm glad you guys
This
all
will be the
behaved.
best. You won't see another one like
That's what
that.
Michelle was saying, experience the best first, so everything.
oh, there you go.
The next one, you're giving the presentation, correct?
Well, there, looks like we lost a client.
Well, Nick, it's nice to see another point grad.
Oh, you graduated from Point?
Yeah,
What was your major?
computer information
Oh,
systems.
you were a CIS major?
Yeah, minored in technical and scientific writing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm accounting, it's, numbers, same
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
but yours is more fun than mine is.
Depends,
But
day
Nick
of the
doesn't
week.
want to tell you he played football for one of the
I
schools
played
in your
football at
conference.
Adams Friendship.
Oh.
All
right.
We could beat us.
We won't hold it against you.
Yeah, I graduated Adams Friendship in 2011, so,
Did you ever get to beat us once?
no. Wait a minute, no, we
Either
did beat you
Robin
guys,
and-
you guys we were your only loss one year. We beat you guys and lost to everybody else.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Good luck in your career.
Thank you.
I think, Lynn, you are up with
I
the
am.
audit report, correct?
I am, yes. I distributed the audit report to the board last month, and there's just a couple of things I want to note in there. I'm not going to go through it page by page probably as much as you want me to.
No, I don't.
I won't. But again, we increased fund balance by over 300,000, which brings us to, as Scott said, about 23% of expenditures. Because we rely so much on our taxes, we still have to short-term borrow. My hope is if we get to that 4.5 million fund balance, our short-term borrowing days will be ended. So that's my goal. I'm not sure if we're gonna get there or not, but it's a goal to have in mind.
Lynn, Scott said that we're at 23%. What would that be for percentage then?
It's closer to 30%.
30%.
Yeah. Mhm.
Lynn, we're
We
gonna
got a
make
ways
it.
to go yet.
I believe we are too.
We're
Bob.
gonna make it.
In your audit report, however, when it says general fund, it puts three funds together because the GASB recognizes the general fund, the special education fund, and the community service fund as all general fund. So what you see in the audit report is not going to match what you see in the financial forecast. Because they have to follow GASB, and the financial forecast actually follows what's in my financial software. So just so you're aware of that. We had no findings, which is so awesome. That means I don't have to deal with the federal government, and I can't even tell you how excited I am about that. So absolutely no findings. One of the things that I did want to mention is now that we've kind of perfected the audit report, the next step is to obtain a certificate of excellence in financial reporting. There are 2 awards that are given out by the state each year. Well, I shouldn't say state, the feds each year. The first one is from the Association of School Business Officials, and that is the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. The second one is from the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, and that's the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Those are 2 separate awards. From the GFOA, there is only one school district in the state that receives that award, and that's Milwaukee. For the ASBO, the Association of School Business Officials, the only school district that receives that award is Kettle Moraine. So my goal is to obtain both of those awards for our next, for our, what year are we in? 14-15 audit report. The checklists that I've been researching are very similar. So it would make sense that if you follow one checklist, you may as well just follow the other. I went to a couple of 4-hour seminars in learning how to obtain those awards, or learning what I had to go through to get those awards. One of the things that they did say is that there are absolutely 3 things or 4 things that you need to do. You have to have your district administrator support, and I do have Terry's support. You have to have your auditor support, because you have to work with them hand in hand. And I've talked to the auditors, and I have that as well. You need your board support. I believe I will have that from you. And you have to start early, because there's a lot of historical data that you have to go to various areas to get. One of them is the city of Nekoosa. So you have to work closely with the city of Nekoosa's treasurer in order to get some historical financial data from the past 10 years. So that's where I think I'm gonna be challenged. Yes.
I can help you.
Thank you, thank you. So right after this fiscal year ends, I am going to start working on that historical data immediately, or even a little bit before, because I want to make sure that I'm ready for when the auditors, when they get here, I will have a lot of this information ready for them to review. But then once you get your audit report back, you have to double check, and double check, because if one number is in a note and it doesn't match your financial statement, you don't get the award. So it's a lot of tedious detail review that you have to do. And they say more than likely the first year you won't get the award, but you will get a very detailed explanation as to what you can improve in. And if I even get that, I would be so extremely happy, because then I can really firm up the report for the 15-16 years. So that's my goal, and I just wanted to let you know that I want that plaque on that wall for all of us. So, and we could be the school district number 2 to get the award in the state of Wisconsin.
So when you say that Milwaukee and Kettle Moraine are the only ones that, is that historically they're the only ones that have gotten it, or?
For the past 2 years, I believe. Yeah.
And neither one of them have both.
No, neither one of them have. We'd be the first one to have the both. So you know, in summary, the audit was great. It was another great experience with the auditors. I learned a lot, as usual. They frustrate me, but that's their job, I guess. But I do have to have an approval from the school board to approve the 13-14 fiscal audit report.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Lynn.
Good luck, Lynn.
Thank you.
Go get them.
I will.
I think
You have to
next,
keep us posted on how you're doing.
next on the agenda, I believe, Charlie, you're gonna talk with us about Project Search.
Can I just kind of, I'll set the stage. So
Sure.
last year, and I think I shared with the board, we were looking at participating in Project Search. And Charlie's going to be explaining a little bit more about it tonight. But last year, we participated with ODC, Wisconsin Rapids Public Schools, and Riverview Hospital in towing with starting a collaborative. We wrote a grant, received some grant funding, and we took a look at the possibilities of us working with Port Edwards, Wisconsin Rapids, and Nekoosa to really do something that I think is cutting edge. It's been around since 1996, started in Cincinnati, and it's called Project Search, and it's really getting our special ed kids out and giving them an opportunity to prepare for life after school. So Charlie's going to just talk a little bit about
I'll give
where we're at.
an overview of Project Search. It's actually something that we did in my previous school district in the Milwaukee area, and it's exactly that. It's a partnership between the two school districts, Riverview and Occupational Development Center. Now, we would like to move forward with this partnership and provide an opportunity for our young adults with either significant intellectual or developmental disabilities, and actually provide them with an alternative placement to be really with their age-appropriate peers. When you're between the ages of 18 and 21, where are those individuals? Typically not in a classroom setting. They're out in the community working. So this would be exactly that. Project Search is a program where students get on-the-job training for, I think it's 16 to, you have to at least do 16 hours a week, 16 to 20, and then there's a classroom component provided from a special ed teacher. Now, there's also job coaches on site, 2 to 3 job coaches. Now, what's exciting about Riverview Hospital, for one, they're excited and they want to play with us, and they have 5 departments within the hospital that want students placed within their area. Now, Project Search allows 12 students per program. Now, Wisconsin Rapids would like 8 of those seats, and that would allow us, if we want between 2 and 4. Now, when I look at our eligibility right now, without diving too deep, I'm just looking at our CD population, we would have 2 students this year that would be eligible for this program, for this opportunity. And actually, one of which will be attending the information night, which is scheduled for Thursday, the 15th at 5:30 at Riverview Hospital. And I brought flyers. I'll put them out in case you want to grab them. But basically, there's also a list of criteria. You must be 18. You must be eligible for services post-secondary, so usually the DVR services. And one of the biggest components is you must be willing to take direction and willing to work. They're looking for students that want this kind of placement, want this kind of opportunity. So it's an exciting opportunity for us, and I think that moving forward, having this in mind when we start to develop student schedules, we can kind of point them in the direction of that. And Mr. Giese and Mr. Whitmore actually joined myself, Rapids, and ODC at our last meeting. I don't know if you want to touch on your experiences at all, or your thoughts on the program?
Well, you know, I was very impressed with, number one, the partnership they've developed with the Riverview Hospital Association. You know, one of the requirements of this program is that sponsor has to hire those students. You know, that's the intent.
Yep.
And
Okay.
that the staff wants these individuals, and that there's a resource out there that we can utilize and, you know, provide a segue for these individuals into a contributing member of society.
Absolutely.
And you know, one of the key things I took away from the meetings is that we really need that student to be motivated to complete the program. And, you know, that's important for that front end, you know, loading, that this is the expectations, you know, on the way. But, you know, I think I'm excited, you know, not only about Riverview's contributions, but also the relationship with Lincoln and ODC, and the fact that they're willing to work, they want to work with us to fill those seats. And, could we do it on our own? No. We need to partner with those other organizations.
We don't have the numbers by
Right,
ourselves.
right.
What kind of positions are they filling for employment?
It could vary. One story that they shared with us was there was a hospital that they realized all the nurses spent a lot of time cleaning up after surgery in ICU, and that was where a majority of their time was spent and not actually with patients. So they were able to create a job for minimum wage where one of the students was in charge of sterilizing each bed and taking care of those kind of things and prepping for the next patient. So that would be an example of one, but it could be anywhere from laundry to clerical work. It really depends on their assessment of the student's skills.
And there's definitely an open component to partner with other businesses in the area. And, as this grows, we may be able to connect with local employers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges that
Sure.
are put forth. I think we have to find a job or placement for 80% of the kids.
Well,
Is that what it is?
the goal as always is competitive community placement afterwards. They said that they have an 80% rate of finding those students jobs after their 1-year graduation, which is fantastic. And that's a great opportunity to start building partnerships in the Nekoosa area, so they finish their time at the hospital, and then they have something lined up in a business within our area. So we can look to possibly form business committees about how to best transition for the students.
So yeah, one of the exciting things from my perspective is they will form a committee, this consortium will form a committee and then start networking with area businesses so that after they're done at the hospital, might they go work at Domtar or, any of the other, I think of Jacoby's. Are there some jobs there that, these kids could fill? So it's exciting.
Thank you.
Thank
So-
you for sharing
yeah.
that, Chuck, Mr. Weezer.
So we're not requiring board action, but we want you to know that that's a tool that we'll be utilizing. Another tool, another option for kids.
It's fantastic. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have open enrollment space discussion.
Yep, every year the school board has to approve the number of spaces available for regular education and special education for open enrollment. This is required by the state. We gave you in your packet a history or basically some information about Humke Elementary. Humke Elementary is a SAGE school, so that's really the only school we really have to watch. We have plenty of spaces in the other 2 buildings. So Keith, did you just want to go through this a little bit for the
Sure.
Humke?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's the same thing we've talked about in the past. We, right now, projecting for next year would be 5 teachers at each grade level. But as you very well know, that fluctuates. We're right on the edge, 92 being the number for 5 teachers. And you can see if you look, I would project 80 to 90 in 5K next year. Currently we have 75 in 4K. I think we are doing a better job of retaining Nekoosa 4K students in Nekoosa due to Head Start and the YMCA childcare. So I think we'll see less fluctuation. I'm hoping we'll see less fluctuation like we've had in the past with that 5K number. The other ones are all just, simply casting forward the number from from this year. But we would see no reason to turn away, especially after the PMA, no reason to turn away an open enrollment student when the reality is a new student coming into the district could easily send us up to another teacher, so.
And SAGE aid is based on the number of free and reduced applications or students in your school. Because we have a high number of free and reduced, our SAGE aid is pretty high. So the only way that we could get around these restricted numbers in each grade level is to eliminate SAGE. And I would never recommend that because in the end, we make money on utilizing that SAGE aid or getting that SAGE aid. So if it comes down to hiring another teacher, that would be a much better option for us than to get rid of SAGE. So as the board has done in the past, we are asking the board to approve a motion that the district will not deny any open enrollment applications due to space.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
So you're saying
Motion
SAGE
carried. Thank
page
you, John.
works out.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Mr. Cum has,
Technical Excellence Scholarship, I think, is next, right? That's you, Mike?
Yes. State of Wisconsin, as you're aware, has the State of Wisconsin Academic Excellence for four-year colleges that every year you have to approve. The end of February, we have to give you a list of who our candidates are. They also now have a technical education, technical excellence scholarship, meaning basically same thing for a student that's going to a tech, a tech school. And the Higher Education Aids Board requires our district to have policies in place for this. And in speaking with Terry and Diana, it's our belief that in our next round of Neola policies, these three policies will come through. And basically, the three policies are that we'll have to have in place are, what seniors are eligible for the scholarship, how grade point average is determined, and how we determine ties, and basically pretty straightforward, be basically a mirror of our academic excellence language just geared toward this. So it's our belief that we go through this following what we would do with, if we have any kids this year, following what we have right now for our academic excellence policy, because like I say, it'll be basically mirrored. And then wait on Neola to provide the actual policies for us for you to adopt.
Exciting.
yeah, it is.
Great.
Extra scholarships. So we need a motion to approve the attached ranking of eligible candidates
I so
procedure.
move. All right, we have a motion.
Aye.
We have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
We have the following donations. Let's see, where are we here? We've got recommendation for possible employment. Nothing? Okay. That takes us to resignations, retirements.
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay, then we have the following donations that were
So,
made.
you want me to read those?
Sure, thank you.
United Church of Christ, bag of scarves, mittens, and hats. Club 51, Nekoosa Homemakers, 3 bags of items for the AMS 4th grade White Elephant sale. Linda Long, a box of items for the AMS 4th grade White Elephant sale. The Rome Fire Department, $500 towards boots, snow pants, and trapper keepers. Author Ed Arndt donated 2 books, Plank Hill Schoolhouse. I think some of you had a chance to look at those. First Congregational Church, $250 for the Essential Closet. And then for Backpack for Kids, Nekoosa Lester Library, 3 large boxes of food. Dollar General, 4 large boxes of toys. Leanne Brown, 24 cookbooks, How to Eat Well, and $4 a day, good and cheap. Steve and Judy Renish, $50. Anonymous, $100. David and Carol Sonnenberg, $50. The 51 Homemakers Club, $100. Nekoosa United Church of Christ, $100. Nekoosa Lions, $100. And First English Lutheran Church, $500.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to accept the donations as presented.
So moved.
And we have a first, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right.
Next is the consent agenda, the minutes, the regular board meeting from December 9th, and the treasurer's report and check register were all presented in your board packets. Any questions, comments, concerns about the consent agenda? Okay, then we're looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have the motion. We have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Lynn, I believe you are up with the budget update?
Yep, I'm not gonna really spend a lot of time on it. I did put a budget update in the packet. There's really nothing of concern or importance. It's the same old January budget stuff, so I think we're good. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or call me. I can go over it with you.
Do you think we'll be able to see that information from Nexus next month, maybe?
Oh, yes,
Very good.
absolutely.
Very good. No, that's okay.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot that.
You didn't. You said-
Yes,
you said
absolutely.
Maybe it'll take time to put that data together and we'll get it.
Totally.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move into executive session, which I believe is next on the agenda, I'm just going to jump down to future agenda items. We have two items. One is the Nexus information for our projects, and the other one is the enrollment update. That's on. Anything else?
Can we do a policy and procedure on parking lots?
Policy and procedure on parking lots?
You know, parking, because we're going to add one?
Yes, we can look at that.
Okay.
You have that? Thank you. Anything else? Future agenda items? Okay.
Oh, yeah, how about update on, I think you and I talked, girls softball, just so they get the same attention that the other sports have been getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girls softball, okay.
You might have a report on the convention.
Oh, yeah, there you go, state convention.
Yeah.
Great, great one, David, thank you. Anyone else? Future agenda items? Going once, going twice?
Actually, you know what, let's put that advance on there. That retreat?
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're not retreating.
We're not retreating, we're advancing.
Okay.
And you've all put that on your calendars, correct?
12, 13, 14.
Yep.
Legislative breakfast?
Diana put.
Oh, the legislative breakfast, hopefully you all got that. That's this Friday. We're leaving early,
What time?
6:30.
Working.
You can go to work after that. You gotta eat breakfast someplace.
Where is it at?
State of Wisconsin doesn't give me that latitude.
Where's
In
it at?
Boston.
It's at Boston. So we'll take the school van and all leave at 6:30, have breakfast.
I'd go, but you can't fit me in the truck.
We'll throw you in.
I'd go, but I can't get
Who's
to
the
work in time.
legislator down there? That we know.
I
You know, I
gotta
don't
be at Marsh
know.
here.
They're still working on getting
It's
recruiting.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Freeman, you gotta get out of bed a little extra early that morning. You can do it, though.
I can do it.
So could we, in memory of Bill Coucher, could we adjourn tonight? Somebody kind of throw out that kind of a sad deal with losing him?
It is a sad thing, but I
don't know.
think,
The
I-
service itself is Thursday at 11 o'clock.
Thursday at 11?
yeah.
There
And,
is not going to be any visitation.
No visitation.
Okay.
So
No, I
It was a
think-
really good.
Thursday at 11:30, isn't it?
Obituary.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock?
We sent photos.
You know, Bill was our first
liaison.
Liaison
officer.
officer, and he
And
really
he
did
certainly
a super
dedicated his
job
life
for
to
us.
youth.
The kids
And-
loved him.
Yeah.
And he was able to somehow finagle so many things out of different companies that we could give away to the kids.
I remember bicycles,
Well, even lately with the skate park, he went out and generated some
Yeah,
jobs.
yeah. He had an in with the Green Bay Packers. I don't know how many autographed footballs he got from there.
Wow.
Bill was also very instrumental in starting our, as we know it today, our district crisis guidelines.
Oh, really?
And the family, and, you know, and carrying on with his legacy, they've established, as indicated in the obituary, a fund at Paper City. In lieu of flowers or any other things, they've established a fund to be used for contributing to youth activities within the city.
Yeah, I saw that. That's neat.
So
Fantastic.
it's really a, you know, Mr. Kautzer and his family are to be commended in the way that he worked with the schools and how that family has worked with us.
So, thank you for sharing.
He was a tremendous athlete too.
I learned this. I didn't know this before, yeah.
He was fantastic.
Huh.
God, he could throw a
Professional
baseball
baseball.
like
He was
you.
drafted out of high school,
Yeah.
professional baseball.
Yeah,
I know that's- I didn't know that.
Baseball. In high school, I don't know how many games he won.
He's probably the only
It was
student
probably
ever
40,
that was
50.
drafted to a
Mhm.
professional
He
team.
was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in his memory, maybe we could just move right into closed session?
Sounds good.
Also move.
Sounds kind of quirky, but.
Also move. We move into a closed session.
Motion to, first, motion, second.
Let me read.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 1985-1C of the Wisconsin statutes, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. We have a
So
motion and
moved.
a second. All those in favor? Or is that a roll call?
First you need a second.
It should be a roll call. yeah.
Dave, second?
Yeah, we have a
Thank you.
person. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mr. Geezy,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Mr. Shears, yes. Mr. Freeman. Mr. Husted.
Yes. Okay, we're in executive session.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.